It is 21 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. Humidity is about 32%, and for the morning, it's still turning out to be not bad compared to rainy days. So I'll take this day. I'll take this anytime, any day. Of course, I do like rains, but all the same, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily this day.
Good morning, and well, this is I try to, guess where we're at, by looking for landmarks in this the aerial shot. Well, you can see it right there. I think it's Guzape here in Abuja. Yes, it is. Good morning and welcome. I'm Maofe Ogunyusu.
And good morning to everyone who's tuned in. We're looking right now at the very beautiful, peaceful Guzape area right there on your screens. It's so good to have you all here. I am Kayla Nagwa.
A relief to see a place in Abuja that does not have traffic. Well, what you're seeing right now is Lagos. This is Western Avenue in Lagos, and right there you can see the Teslim Balogun Stadium that is under construction, well, under, some rehabilitation work in Lagos. Well, that road you see on your left is the one that leads into Surulere, but this one that you're seeing is the Western Avenue, renamed at some point Funshaw Williams Avenue, right here in Lagos. You can see that beautiful skyline. Well, I don't know if everyone is happy as Chamberlain is about the way the road is, the city is looking, but hey, it is what we have. And if you move to your right, the right of your screen, you will find eventually when we get there that is the National Stadium, constructed in 1972 and has hosted amazing events here in the city of Lagos. Good morning again and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
That's not Lagos today.
That's Lagos a while back.
Well, don't go telling people a place in Abuja that doesn't have traffic. They'll look at you funny. They will look at you funny because almost everywhere it doesn't. It's just a construction, and that's why it's going on like that. But all the same, yeah, we do understand actually. So let's go ahead and take you through some of the events that will be playing out today in different parts of the country. So for instance, here in Abuja, remember the questions and comments about the cost of living, or different groups are meeting. For instance, the Special Presidential Committee will be meeting again today. They did meet yesterday to look at some of those matters. The Minister of Information, the NSA, the Chief of Staff, they were all there at that meeting which held, and they said they will continue that meeting today. They said it was in fact the beginning of the meeting. It will continue. And then they're also trying to ensure that this Special Presidential Committee will address the issues of food shortage or lack of food on the table to most Nigerians. So they're hoping to strategize and hope that the strategy works.
It is quite an important conversation that's being had. And like you said, lots of things being talked about this presidential committee. I think they're going to meet for 3 days. They met yesterday, they're meeting today, and they're going to meet tomorrow as well. Rising cost of living, unlocking food in storage facilities is something that they're going to be looking at as well. They said, in fact, part of what we saw from that conversation yesterday was that there is food, but people are taking advantage of the situation of the country. So that is something that they're looking at. They also said they're going to be talking to a lot of people, talking to people about the Mina protest and why it is important at this time for the government to do something about the situation, talking about storage facilities and people who have, businesses where food is being stored across the country, how they can get that out to the people.
Today, so that's what I expect them to also focus on. So let's look for the next.
Then the next thing we're seeing happening today, of course, everyone has been talking about the AFCON semi-final, Nigeria versus South Africa. Will be coming up today as well. We're going to have a conversation about that during the show. Also happening today in the nation's capital, road intervention. The FCT minister and the roads works movement around the FCT. Yesterday we talked about Maitama. Today is going to be at Kwali. So that is also happening today. We're looking forward to that particular conversation. And of course, looking at all of the development that's going on around the FCT, that's something to really look out for. And also happening today, the Senate, they're going to be talking today, Mark, where they're going to be looking at the service chiefs over the security challenges in the country. So that is something that's going to be happening today as well. So a very packed day in the nation's capital. Lots of events going on. And of course, Channels Television will be there giving you the details as they unfold throughout the day. So those are some of the things that we're going to be looking out for happening today.
Well, I'm wondering, this particular one, the Senate talking to security chiefs.
The Senate on Friday.
On Friday, exactly. I think it's been moved because they want to have a conversation with the economic policy handlers as well.
Okay, we'll check that because I think what they said was they were supposed to appear in the Senate.
Yeah.
But since they wanted to talk to the service chiefs, then they moved the CBN governance appearance to Friday.
Okay.
So service chiefs will be happening today. So that
interesting. Whatever it is, we certainly will be there to bring you, very extensive details of what exactly is happening within the National Assembly.
I was going to...
Well, yes, today we are talking business as usual, and business today on the business morning, which is coming to you at the top of the next hour, we'll be talking, we'll be putting our eye on the economic manager's appearance at the chambers and the federal government's economic plans, policies, and programs to ameliorate the challenges that people are having generally. That is up on the next hour, and that's 10 a.m. Chamberlain.
Oh, yes, indeed, Dayo, you've got the first guest, so you go ahead.
Oh, yes. Maybe we should take that first swipe, Chamberlain, at that economic conversation that we are supposed to have because, hey, the issues are not just going to go away. Well, the coordinating minister of the economy and minister of finance was at the National Assembly yesterday as guests of members of the House of Representatives, as well as the governor of the CBN. So we have Wale Ogundare with us here this morning. He is CEO, Kathena Advisory. He joins us virtually in Lagos. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Ogundare.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah. Well, a quick one on what your take is. How persuasive or how persuaded are you about the visit of the members of the executive to the National Assembly yesterday, and how persuasive is their contribution as far as you're concerned?
Put me on the spot with that. Because if I share the sentiment of a lot of Nigerians, it's not very persuasive at the moment. We can see what's going on with a lot of people focusing strictly on the monetary policies, forgetting that the main anchor of the economy resides with our fiscal policy. For me, until we're able to marry these two policies in such a way that they're reliant on each other, the achievement of one without the other will not really take us anywhere. If you also look at the conversations going on in the National Assembly regarding this visit, it's been strictly around the monetary policies and, applying a few corporate governance principles around it. So for me, I'm not very enthused just yet. I'd like to see a few more things around the fiscal policies, particularly around the productive sector within Nigeria.
Well, let's look away from the sentiments because you're a figures person, so you have some data to look at, and many Nigerians will not see that. They just see what's right before them, that what the markets are saying. Well, by market, I'm talking about Maxwell, Sabongiri, Ariari, and the rest of the market like that, not the kind of market you are used to with your suit and tie. So talk to us about the figures, what the figures are saying, what the trajectory looks like. I mean, looking at all of the things that Mr. Cardoso was saying about the outlook of the world, the S&P global ratings, and so many other issues like that. Talk to us about that. How forward-looking are those for us as a nation?
Okay, let me look at the primary figure, and we discussed this last when I was at Channels. The primary figure for me resides in the Nigerian budget. You see, you can only do so much if you have $65 per person per annum in a country, that for me is the fundamental figure. If you're looking at the S&P, all of those ratings, those things are all futuristic projections. Let's look at our own budget and how it's been structured. My last visit, we discussed the fundamentals of a budget, looking at those figures that you mentioned. And for me, the main primary figure there is that our total budget per person per Nigerian, as at then, was $65 per person per Nigerian per annum. If I use today's dollar exchange rate, I'm sure we'll fall to somewhere around $50 per Nigerian per annum. You can only do so much with those kinds of figures, which is why, for me, the only thing I'm looking out for is how we improve our FDI. Again, if you look at numbers in terms of our FDI, which is what I think will help with the productive sector, our FDIs have been very poor. I don't even want to put figures to this. You see, the more I put figures to it, the more it may demoralize Nigerians. Our FDIs, which traditionally had come in, at some reasonable figures, they've dried up, to near zero. In the last 6 months, 9 months, it's dried up to near zero. So
yeah, my apologies.
So
I guess that yes. I guess that speaks to the challenges that the managers of the economy have on their hands and what they have to do. One last question to you, Mr. Okundare. The CBN governor said the time for cynicism and panic is not now. And the Minister of the Economy, Coordinating Minister of the Economy also says, we as a nation, where we are as a nation economically is a much better place than we were on May 29, 2023. Do you agree with him?
I don't agree. I don't agree at all.
Why is that?
Like I said, when I analyze the budget, because it's a budget
my
that drives
apologies.
everything.
See, the budget wasn't drawn by this government. If you want to factor that in, that's why I'm asking you whether or not they just have to work with whatever it is that they have. Okay, no, the budget of this year was drawn by this government, not the previous one. But so they kind of have to find one way or the other to make some of these things. So beyond looking at the numbers of those ones, just look at the policies and programs that the government has come up with. Do you see any hope? Because that's what the governor of the CBN and the coordinating minister of the economy are saying.
So let me address those policies.
Yeah.
You will notice, you see, in setting up policies, there's a process in coming up with policies. A lot of the policies that I see the CBN particularly coming up with, they've all been in a haste. It's akin to the fact that you're driving a car, and all of a sudden, there's a flat tire. There's an engine problem. So it's all in a haste to, let's fix this. Let's fix that. The whole thing about, is this car in a good condition to even be driven, isn't being looked at. All of those policies are policies being used to sort of to sort of address some of the issues that have existed, in a long time. And for me, this is the same party we're talking about. The last administration was the APC. The current one is the APC as well. So I like to think that from a party perspective, the minimum expected is that this is what we represent as a party. Therefore, this is the continuum we're heading to. Now, let's agree that, there were some mistakes made in the last administration that they're trying to correct in this one. For me, the approach to the policy formulations have been, it's just been modeled.
Mr. Okundare, my apologies.
Yeah.
These are initial conversations. Maybe sometime next week we'll find a way to pull you into the studio so that we can have a more elaborate conversation about this, because the issues you are raising are quite germane, and I want to believe that the managers of the economy themselves have their hands on these issues. Just wanted to give some people some perspective of this so that it doesn't look like, hey, what's going on here? Just some understanding. But thank you so much for giving us a little bit of that. Some work for the economic managers to do. Wole Okundare, CEO, Kathena Advisory. Thank you again for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. It's back to you, Chamberlain.
pharmaceutical product out to another country with a particular regulated product, we are assuring the receiving country that it will be of quality. That's not what is happening. Most of our medicines come from Southeast Asia, and they belong to the member states too. We have a scheme where before medicines that we have approved leave that part of the world, we do pre-shipment testing. And that pre-shipment testing is supposed to come with certificate of pharmaceutical product. Meaning, it's supposed to assure us that what we are getting is good. But that's not the case.
All right, so that is what we're going to find out now. And the Director General of NAFDAC joins us here in the studios, Professor Mojisola Adeye. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So definitely we're all concerned and worried, hoping that we all get it right, because you know the impact if we don't.
That's
What's
right.
going on with what you said there?
Actually, what I said was the product that could have come to Nigeria, we stopped such products from coming in through the pre-shipment testing in the country where the products are leaving from. So it could have been misunderstood. What we have in NAFDAC is what some other countries are copying now, pre-shipment testing. So let's say we approve 100 products from that part of the world. Those products must go through a clean report inspection analyst, CRIA, before coming. Those that failed will not come. And that was what I was referring to. That those that failed, and these are products that we've already approved. But if fake documentation was part of the submission, we wouldn't have known. But at that point where the products are being tested, we found out that they failed, so they couldn't come to Nigeria. None of those products came to Nigeria. About 140 approved products. And when you talk of approved products, you are talking of 5-year approval. So it will be tens and tens of containers over the 5 years. We stopped those products through the pre-shipment testing. However, we dug deep. We did a deep dive into the documentation that accompanied those failed products. One of those documents is certificate of pharmaceutical product. And we found out that over 50% of the documentation was fake.
Wow.
For those that didn't come. So despite the fact that we have approved them based on what we saw, they failed. So they couldn't be shipped into the country.
How did you discover that they were fake?
Well, we have network. You know, the certificate of pharmaceutical product is supposed to be given by the Central Regulatory Agency in India. But that is not usually done. So the states or the provinces have their own, unlike us, that we have just one single NAFDAC. The states also have their own regulatory agencies. So the states are the ones that issue this COPP. So one of our colleagues dug deep, that know India very well, dug deep into certificates of pharmaceutical products that we sent to them because they wanted to know more about our pre-shipment scheme. And they were the one who discovered that over 50% of the documentation is fake. So it is not products that came into Nigeria. No, we don't have over 50% of our drug products in Nigeria fake. No, we have about 12%, which we are trying to reduce to less than 5%.
Well, I can tell you that initially when I heard that statement, it was alarming. And I
Yes.
think that's what a lot of people heard. They thought they heard
Yeah.
that was the products, the drug products that came into
No.
Nigeria that were fake.
No.
It is upon closer listening that you hear, oh, certificate, documentation, over 50% of them were fake.
Yes.
So it's a good thing you clarify that
Thank you.
it is a documentation, but then you also say it is a pre-shipment
Pre-shipment, before they ever got out of the country where they are being shipped from. So they never got to Nigeria at all. It was just that we now found out that aside from failing like a drug release test, disintegration test, dissolution test, like tablets, aside from failing in the lab, their documentation is also fake.
So, ma'am, can you tell us, because to be very honest, I am curious. I was particularly worried because at the time I heard that, was watching a particular story, I was taking medication. Are you sure what I'm not taking is one of the 50%? You never can tell.
That's
but
right.
can you tell us how the process works? Because you said, and I understand, that it is important to reassure Nigerians that, the medicines that have in most of the shelves in our pharmacies are safe for consumption.
Yes.
However, we do not want that to be on a false premise. We want that to be something that is genuine.
Yes.
So can you tell us what the process is like? Because you said that those drugs, even though you later found out that the certificate or the certification, 50% of them were fake, had been initially approved.
Yes.
So how is it that you were able to approve something first, then you find out later on that the documentation is fake?
That's a very good question, first of all. To authenticate that COPP, we demand that they go to our embassies in the country of export, where they're coming from, to certify it. Very likely, there is a doctoring of that certification. And what we are trying to do now is to digitize the authentication. Because I may be speaking to you now coming from India or China or whatever, and I will be talking with you face to face. And you'll be showing me your certificate of pharmaceutical product. And I'm here in Nigeria. You are there in China or wherever. All these things will be videotaped.
Oh, it's a virtual communication?
That is what we're trying to do now. We want to digitize it. Instead of going to the embassy, we're not sure whether they even went to our embassy. They might have faked it. I don't know. But we don't. And we also vet it. Once we get that COPP, we vet it through our own legal department. But you cannot know what is doctored because it's coming from another country. Now we are digitizing authentication of the certificate of pharmaceutical product. So that is going to help a lot.
Okay, sorry, I didn't quite catch this. The approval. If a medicine is to come into Nigeria, it has to get an approval first?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So how do you get the approval first before you now begin to pursue documentation?
Wonderful. It takes at least 12 months to get full approval. It will go through the dossier review. Dossier is the package, The dossier is like a Bible or whatever. It's divided into chapters of quality, safety, efficacy. The applicant must submit that to us through our electronic platform. Then after the dossier is approved, finally, it may take a few months to get approval. It goes into another leg of our electronic application where they will now go for GMP inspection review, because it's not just the quality, safety, and everything that is put in. We need to know the record of this company in terms of good manufacturing practice.
So is it the medicine itself that goes through this, or the documentation that accompanies the medicine?
The application goes through this system.
Does the application include the medicine in
At the beginning, it will not. It is at the good manufacturing practice stage that will go there for inspection and then take samples.
Okay.
Once we test those samples in the laboratory, then the three arms of the approval process have been satisfied, which is the dossier review, the good manufacturing practice inspection, and the laboratory testing.
So at what point do you determine then that this medicine, is approved? And then at what point do you now say, oh, no, the certification that accompanied it is fake?
Okay. First of all, it is at the initial stage that we determine that or that we assess the documentation. Then it goes to the GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practice Model, and then to the laboratory. We will have approved or certified through our own legal department that all these documentations are good.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to be able to talk to you, DG, about fake products in the country. I've gone on a few raids with your office and your men. Very troubling most of the time. I remember the last time I went with your team for a raid was at Suleja.
Yes.
And it was those little aphrodisiacs that they were selling.
That's right.
And I also heard you talk about a clampdown on alcoholic drinks in sachets.
Yes.
Talk to us a bit about fake products within the country, because that's something that a lot of people are worried about. What's been done when we go on these raids? One thing I do notice is that we catch the store boys.
Yes.
What about the barons, the ones who are importing these things? What's really happening in that area?
Unfortunately, we usually don't get the barons. We get the foot soldiers, so to say. But once in a while, we catch the big guys too, and we prosecute. NAFDAC has investigation and enforcement directorate. And also the Federal Task Force is also domiciled in NAFDAC. So we have a lot of backing by the law to prosecute, to arrest, to destroy and all those things, violative products. But in terms of drugs and food, we have a lot of challenges on that, because of our massive population, because of the 5 countries that border us. But what we do is what we call market control. Market control is one of the models for which we were benchmarked as ML3. That is, we have 9 models to get to ML3, and market control is one of them. Market control starts with registration. What do you do after registration? In our own case, pre-shipment testing. Then, if the product passes, it comes into the country through our port inspection. We go and inspect the warehouse or the distribution site to make sure that it's not fake or whatever, and then it goes into the market. Then we have the post-marketing surveillance directorate, where we do routine inspection. We do mystery shopping. I've sent people out for mystery shopping in different parts of the country. Check this out for us. But there is a directorate that does that on a daily basis, just to be sure that what we approved, they've not changed it on us. I was told that a company here wanted to launch a product. Before that local manufacturer launched it, they've already cloned it in China. So this is the challenge that we face every day. But there's nothing we can do. We have to step up and devise all sorts of means. There are so many methods to step down or mitigate substandard falsified medicine. The first one is this pre-shipment testing. Once they get into the country, we do track and trace.
Okay. Because part of the concern was that, as at the time the information came through that about 50% of the documents were fake, many then thought, wait a minute, does it mean that chances are that some of those documents, if you hadn't gotten that tip-off, might have been approved here previously? Actually, we approved here previously. So it is only one of those documents that failed. We have a lot of documents that that accompany application. It is only the COPP that comes from the exporting country and
that
so
failed.
If those were approved previously, chances are that some of those drugs too may have equally been approved and gotten into the country.
No, possibly. The chances are very minimal. First of all, that is why we have a lot of safeguards. For example, we have what is called the PID camps, the port inspection portal, where we can actually trace where products are coming from on the sea.
For if those documents had gotten into the country and the drugs had gotten in,
Yes.
what were the chances that we could have caught them there?
That is where the post-marketing surveillance and the enforcement comes in. We get a lot of intelligence report. In fact, many of our big breaks are from intelligence. That a company is making the X product, and all of a sudden there is X prime product. The same thing, faking it. The companies also are at alert. We expect them to have post-marketing surveillance department to be also looking out for their product, branding. And sometimes we get, tips from such.
Are you satisfied with the agency's capacity for lab tests to check all these drugs to come in at every part of the country?
That is a great question. We have thousands of products. Thousands of products that we regulate. We cannot test all the thousands of products. That was part of what they saw in our system when WHO first came, that people must be running crazy in your lab if you think you're going to test all these products. So they advised us use risk-based sampling, risk-based testing. For example, if you have been an importer and you have been complying with all our regulations and whatnot, and we tested 1 year, it passed your product, next year it passed, consecutively it passed. We put you at low risk. If your product is not on soft tissues, it's not sterile products, it is not a drug that can easily break down, we put you on low risk. Meaning we will not test your product until the market. Meaning we were doing test and register. And that was killing us. So with this risk-based sampling, for low risk, we don't test, but we have a lot of parameters that determine which one is low risk, which one is high risk. We just don't do it anyhow.
So you sorry, just one moment. It means you rest on the integrity of the importer
as one of the factors. There are about 5 or 6 factors. For example, if it is eye drop, it doesn't matter whether he has the best record. We're going to test. If the drug oxytocin, for example, for labor induction, if he has oxytocin, we're going to test because it breaks down very fast because of storage, not because it is fake. So it depends on the type of medicine. So we do risk-based sampling, and this is global now. To be a matured organization, you have to have risk-based sampling or testing.
I wanted to find out, how can Nigerians help? What can we do? Apart from the fact that a lot of us have gotten very used to now checking, labels on everything that we see.
Yes.
How can we help this fight against fake products in the country?
It's a community effort. It is a community effort. First of all, we have to engage our population almost on a daily basis. About 50% of us are illiterate. People don't read. We have to use social media because many of those that cannot even read so much, they have social media, whatever. We have to do a lot of awareness. Many of these things that we do, you don't see it in stringent regulatory countries because they are so much, they are what will I call it? They are socially conscious of what they are doing, and they are educated more than us in terms of drugs and whatnot, because you can go to the university and still not be educated if you don't want to. So it is that sensitization of the public. And we have measures because of what is going on. We, for example, before we started our traceability, we do the scratch and call, the mobile authentication system for anti-malarials, antibiotics. We were doing that. Now we are doing much better now with traceability, where you, in a few years, get ready your phone. You use it to scan the barcode. It's genuine. It's not genuine. So it's going to be much easier. But We started during the pandemic with vaccines. We commissioned all the vaccines that came into the country. We know right now where millions of vaccines that came into the country are, where they were given. It's a map. You see it, beautiful tree map of Nigeria, showing cities, health centers, and so on. So that's what we do. We also do on-site testing. Testing, I will call it testing, or detection. It's almost like a cell phone. You put your tablet on it, and it will show you, okay, this is paracetamol. But before we had that, NAFDAC was the first agency before my time that actually had that TrueScan. But it will say, oh, it's paracetamol. It was qualitative at that point. Now it is quantitative. So it will say, oh, it's 70%, it's 100% now. So we bought those, but it has a lot of what I call chemometrics. So our staff are getting trained in that. So that is one. Mm-hmm. Another is local manufacturing. Local manufacturing. We can easily get to our local manufacturer compared to companies overseas. We got a tip that a manufacturing site was not complying. Within 2 hours we were there. We shut them down. So that is, there are so many means of mitigating falsified medicine.
We'll keep working with the agency and any agency that wants to do their best to ensure Nigerians are safe.
Thank you.
So we do thank you, and we encourage you to keep doing as much as you can, and we will also do our part to ensure that the country is as safe as possible. Thank you for coming on, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Well, back in a moment, everyone. Stay on with us.
Yeah.
This is the fourth meeting between the Kaduna elders and Governor Uba Sani since he assumed office on May 29, 2023. The forum, which is a non-partisan and non-religious platform, is co-chaired by the former military governor of Rivers State, General Zamani Lekot, retired, and the former head of service in Kaduna State, Abubakar Mustafa. Co-chairman of the Elders Forum congratulates Governor Sani on his victory at the Supreme Court and commends him on his numerous people-oriented programs in the past 7 months.
By choosing to start your administration from the rural areas where the bulk of the population lives, you have started a long journey on the right foot.
This government requires support for peace to prevail. And once there's no peace, you hardly have development.
Kaduna for many years has witnessed several ethno-religious conflicts, but the elders are happy with the steps taken so far by the present administration to right the wrongs of the past.
I've been working on fighting insecurity. Thank you.
For Governor Sani, whose administration inherited the multifaceted security challenges as well as other socio-economic problems in Kaduna, addressing the challenges require a collaborative approach, just as he rails out measures taken to tackle the menace of banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism in the state.
They have agreed to set up 2 forward operating bases of the military in Kaduna State.
Regular meetings and interactions like this, according to the governor, remain the main thrust of his administration towards deepening citizens' engagement and participatory governance in an effort to bring about the needed socio-economic development in the state.
Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. All eyes are on governors now to ensure that they do what they should or what they were elected to do to ensure that the people in the states are all, at least to a large extent, coping comfortably too with the economic challenges. This morning, we're joined by His Excellency Obasani, Governor of Kaduna State. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, we've seen that report about security, but we also have read you several times where you have said, well, part of the challenges of one key solution to insecurity is good governance. Yeah. What are you doing about that in your state?
Yeah, thank you very much again. Why I kept saying that since I was elected is because we look at the situation of the country generally. From day one, a lot of people wanted to confuse the issue of insurgents fight in the northeast with the banditry and kidnappings in the northwest. And I believe they are not really the same. Like I said, the northwest crisis that has to do with banditry and kidnappings is economic problem. When you look at the situation critically, you will agree with me that most of those bandits always kidnap, some people and ask for ransom, and whenever they are given money, they will release the victims. In many cases, in some cases, when there is a delay, they end up taking the lives of those victims. So when you look at the situation and also look at the problem of poverty, unemployment, hopelessness, and lack of education, particularly in the northwestern part of Nigeria. That is the reason why a lot of these incidents happen in northwest now, because of this crisis we're facing. The last time I checked, and you can confirm from the SDG's report, the recent one, you will agree with me that about 85 to 90% of the people that lives in the northwestern part of Nigeria are living below the poverty line. And of course, if you look at the statistics of the out-of-school children in Nigeria, you can see that from the statistics and data available, a lot of them are from the northwestern part of Nigeria. So that was the reason why I kept calling for good governance, because people kept talking about using the kinetic or non-kinetic approach to this crisis of insecurity. And I kept saying, Habu really analyzed what we mean by a non-kinetic approach. It's not only about talking with the bandits, paying ransom to them, asking them to surrender their weapons. Most of this effort were made some years by past governors, and it didn't yield any result. Again, recently, a lot of governors and even some senior government officials are asking for looking at how do we really bring those criminals and pardon them if they can surrender. And I feel, look, that is only one aspect of non-kinetic, which for me is not even the most important one. The most important one is looking at the condition of the people generally. Okay. The poverty, unemployment, hopelessness, that's it.
So maybe I should then ask you, what have you done to improve the economic situation of Kaduna State indigenous?
Yeah, in Kaduna State, I think what we did when I came in, we look at the statistics, like I said, and I realized that in the first 2 months, I signed an executive order. People thought that was just a joke, but it's really helping us right now. Because since I signed the executive order to bring about 2.5 million underserved, underprivileged, poor people back to financial services sector, today we have about 1.5 million who have been brought back to financial services sector, and we have been coming up with some measures of interventions, supporting the less privileged, because right now they are financially included. We are supporting them. We have an agency called Kadeda. And the Kadeda is looking at those that have small businesses and also some households that are poor. So what are we doing? Kaduna State government have now been bringing them, supporting them. We've not been making so much noise about that. And again, we have taken development to our rural areas. That is the reason why when I came in, I made it clear that our major agenda is revitalization of our rural economies. So if you look at what we've done, we have been working very, very well toward bringing or taking economic prosperity to the rural areas where a lot of them were completely abandoned many, many years by successive governments in Kaduna State. So that has really helped us. And of course, we also try to tackle the problem of insecurity by bringing virtually all the stakeholders to the table. Now, what are we doing? We have tried as much as possible to look at how we can bring both traditional rulers, religious leaders, as well as even the major stakeholders in Kaduna State to the table to look at how do we sit down. And they have been helping us with a lot of support, wisdom, and their inputs. We really consider most of their inputs. That's the reason why in Kaduna State today, you can see that we're having peace to some extent, and because of our effort, a lot of other governments have come in to support Kaduna State. I was saying, was it last week?
Your Excellency, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there because you've said a lot of things. And, you know, we need to follow up on some of the things that you've said. You've talked about rural development just before you went on to security and how your focus, you want your focus to be in the rural areas. Recently, you passed a budget. Well, that was in December. Now, your state's budget was 458 billion. 70% of that budget is recurrent.
No, it's not. It's capital.
Beg your pardon?
Capital, yeah.
I'm looking at how this. Okay, beg your pardon. Yes, indeed. The capital budget is 70%.
Yeah.
And recurrent expenditure is about 30%. So I'm wondering. I mean, when you say you're bringing development to the rural areas, what precisely do you mean? Is it just roads? Because we've seen you commission roads, which is a good thing. However, some people will say their immediate needs are more than roads.
Yeah, no, I think road is only one aspect. Maybe you have missed out on our effort. We have been building 3 major skill and vocational acquisition cities in all the zones. Number one, we did a groundbreaking of a skill and vocational acquisition city in Igabi, that is in the central zone. We've also done one in
skill acquisition. What
skill acquisition.
What kind of skills are you looking at?
Where we're many skills. We're talking about welding, we're talking about carpentry, we're talking about even ICT, because we believe at this critical moment we need to equip and educate our people on the issue of digital economy, because we believe we need to educate them. And what we look at it, the reason why we have gone to that is because I think we sent a delegation, which I was heading, was it 3-4 months ago, to Morocco. And what we found out is that a lot of things have been achieved by a country like Morocco. And what have they done? Because they look at the issue of education, and we believe we in Kaduna State, we're having deficit in terms of skills. A lot of projects have been done in Kaduna in the recent years, but most of the people that work, most of those areas of welding, carpentry, even little things like, what do you call it, tiling, POP, and most of them have been done by people who are not from Kaduna State, because we have deficit in skills. And the world has changed right now. We have to stop thinking that you must be a graduate to get a job now. A lot of graduates are roaming the street, but we feel we need to give them skills so that they can be able to also be more productive, and they can be employed not only in Kaduna State, they will be employable in other parts of Nigeria, even abroad. If you look at some countries that are exporting skills to other countries around the world, because that is where the world is turning into now. So for us, we believe in Kaduna, we have deficit. So I've been building 3 major vocational and skill acquisition cities, not only just a school, a city where
within rural communities?
For the people of, it's just like a city where we are partnering with the NBTE. You know NBT? We are partnering with the NBT, National Board for Technical Education. We are also partnering with one of the leading skill acquisition agency in Morocco, because we believe that is where the world is heading to. So we want to make sure that our youth are gainfully employed when they have the skill, because that's another way to reduce the level of employment, because not everyone will have master's degree or first degree to go and get a job anywhere.
When will you be
Skill is the key. As we are speaking, that we have done the groundbreaking in the last 3 months, and the project is ongoing right now. 3 major senatorial districts in Kaduna. That's number one. Number two,
yeah.
I want to draw attention to the fact that when I came in, we look at the healthcare system of Kaduna State. And remember, 3 months ago, we distributed state-of-the-art equipments in 290 primary healthcare centers in Kaduna State. Because in Kaduna, we believe healthcare is not a privilege. It's a right. And that is the reason why by our own campaign promise, we made it clear to the people of Kaduna State that everyone should be able to get into a primary healthcare in less than an hour from your own home. So we have 255 wards in Kaduna. Every ward has a primary healthcare, fully equipped with state-of-the-art equipment as we're speaking.
What about
that was the reason why.
Personnel?
The personnel, yeah, as we're speaking only last month, we have also employed thousands of medical personnel, from nurses to midwives. And that was the reason why even the president of the African Development Bank, Professor Adesina, called me last week, and he asked me, he said, look, because of what we are doing in Kaduna, we want Kaduna to be a model for other states in Nigeria. Because of that, African Development Bank are now coming to Kaduna as a form of grant to model some of our primary health care, because we've done a lot, and African Development Bank are doing that free for us to support us with making sure they computerize some of the primary health cares in Kaduna State, also provide them with water and sanitation, as well as trying to make sure that they put solar power in our primary health care. But I told the president of the African Development Bank, Professor Adesina, that look, as we're speaking, we have, out of the 209, about 152 already have solar power. So we just need support in the remaining, because Kaduna is leading in primary healthcare in Nigeria. That is a record. And we believe if you want to reach out to the rural areas, primary healthcare is key. Education is key. As we're speaking, we are equipping and building more primary schools in Kaduna. Only last week I announced that we are building about 2,000 more classrooms. About 1,500 have been equipped as we are speaking in Kaduna State. That is primary schools. Education for us is key because we believe it's the greatest leveler. And we're not taking that for granted at all in Kaduna State.
I mean, Your Excellency, it's a lot of work that has been done, according to a lot of what we're hearing from you. And, you know, I was born in Kaduna. I spent my whole life. I was born in Angwerimi, and I went to all my schooling there. So I know a lot about this city and some of these non-kinetic moves that you're doing are supposed to go a long way, hopefully. But I wanted to take you up on something else. I saw you do something a few weeks ago when you went to that school, to the church in Sabo Ntecha. And it was you know, refreshing. And of course, everyone was excited to see you in that church. And that spoke a lot to people like me who grew up from there. The divide between the people in Kaduna North and Kaduna South. And how this has fueled a lot of the crisis. People have taken advantage of that divide over the years to cause instability in the state. What more can you do to create that cohesion between people in Kaduna North and Kaduna South, so that we can stop these men and political actors in many cases who are trying to fuel crisis using that divide?
Thank you. Since I was elected last year, I made it clear during one of our major stakeholders meeting with both the CAN and GNI that in Kaduna we need to forget about the issue of division in terms of religion and ethnicity. Because I took an oath to be fair to everyone, irrespective of his religion or ethnic affiliation. That's what we're doing. If you listen to what's happening in Kaduna carefully today, we don't have any problem of division. Since I was elected, there was no single communal or religious crisis in Kaduna State. That is a fact. And why is this happening? It's because of justice. If you are fair to everyone, you treat everyone equally, you give everyone a sense of belonging, there will be peace in any society, not only Kaduna State. And my call to other people is, look, as a leader. You are not elected to represent any religion or any ethnic group. In Kaduna, we're very lucky. We have a lot of ethnic nationalities in Kaduna State. Not only that, we're cosmopolitan. There are many people who are not from Kaduna who lives in Kaduna, from other part of Nigeria. So for me, that is strength. That shouldn't be weakness for us. Everyone has opportunity to contribute. That is the reason why today in Kaduna, both the Khan and Janai are working closely, and we've been having inter-religious harmony meeting virtually every month, organized by Khan and Janai. That is the reason why we all have sense of belonging. And when I went to the church the other time, for me, it wasn't something that is so difficult because, first and foremost, I made it clear to everyone. As a Muslim, even Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was in Medina, he came out with a constitution where he brought everyone, Muslims, Christians, even those that have no religion, to sit down and agree on how they can live together.
Your Excellency, my apologies if you can hear me.
Because fairness and justice.
Well, my sincere apologies, Your Excellency, if you can hear me. Just something that you said a little while ago. Yes, when you talked about the fact that there are other people from other states who live in Kaduna, then there are Kaduna indigenes who also are residents in other parts of the Northwest. That's what you began by talking about. It calls to question the issue of collaboration among the state governors there to tackle the issue of poverty that you mentioned, because I remember the former governor, Nasir El-Rufai, also talking about a breakdown of that collaboration at some point, which fomented insecurity. What's the collaboration plan among the governors to try to take down some of these figures that you have reeled out earlier?
Yeah, we have a kind of a group. First, we have Northern Governors Forum. We also have Northwest Forum of our governors. And I can assure you that we've been having meetings. We have similar problems. Like I said, the issue of poverty, the issue of unemployment, the issue of out-of-school children affects virtually every state. Collaboration is very important. In our last meeting, we sat down in Kaduna, being the capital of northern Nigeria. We have agreed to work together. And as I can say here that so far so good, maybe there are one or two areas that we are not working at together on some areas, particularly if you look at the issue of how we approach the issue of security. I believe we're on the same page. But the way we implement most of those resolutions might not necessarily be the same because of our peculiarity. But I believe we are working together. We have the same agenda. Implementation, not necessarily the same. Because if you look at the issue of vigilance services that a lot of states have been initiating now, Kaduna said yes, we have 7,000. But my belief about vigilance service, whether in Kaduna, in Katsina, in Zamfara, or Amotokun in the Southwest, I have a different approach to all these issues. Why? Because as a former member of the National Assembly, I made an attempt to amend Firearms Act. And if you look at the Firearms Act, it's obsolete. The last time it was amended is over 30 years ago. And the reason why I felt maybe the approach might not be the same is because I believe the only way forward and the only way we can address the problem of security in Nigeria is the creation of state police. That's my own position. Not every government will agree with me. Those stop gaps of creating a Motokun, other vigilance services in other states, for me, cannot end insecurity in our own country. Because if you look at Firearms Act in Nigeria, no vigilance service group, whether a Motokun or anyone created by any state, including Kaduna State, that have the right to hold firearms. It's clear in the Firearms Act. I was a senator that wanted to amend that act. It wasn't successful. Until we do that, but until we do that, let's converse and all insist on the creation of state police in Nigeria. That is the way forward.
All right. Well, maybe subsequently we'll like to at least engage you a lot more on this area, because it's a matter that a lot of people are really concerned about. We need to find out why and how do we proceed. So we thank you for coming on this morning. Your Excellency Obasani, Governor of Kaduna State. Thank you and all the best to you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're back in a moment with business news right now.
Thank you so much, Chamberlain. Good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Interesting conversation right there with the governor of Kaduna State. Of course, we'll hold the Sunrise team to it and hope that they can get him back to complete some of those conversations. Now, let's go to the world of business, beginning what's going on in the oil space. Prices ticked high on Wednesday as growth in U.S. oil production is expected to remain largely steady through 2025, easing worries of excess supply. Brent crude futures rose 38 cents. Let's look at the numbers right there. And we see it's gained 0.5%. Are still not at the $80 yet. Yesterday, the Minister of Finance speaking to the lawmakers, of course, we need it to get to $80 for Nigeria. But it's not yet there from what the minister was saying. And then WTI, also from the U.S., is at $73.72 a barrel. That's up 0.6%. And we know that the EIA has cut its forecast for domestic oil output growth in 2024 by 120,000. Perhaps this will move prices. As we know, when there's a squeeze on supply, then the prices would go up. U.S. government data oil inventory will be released later on today. U.S. crude stocks expected to have risen 1.9 million barrels in the last week as production recovered from cold freeze and refinery state maintenance. Meanwhile, U.S., Qatari and Egyptian mediators prepared a diplomatic push to bridge differences between Israel and Hamas. We know that the Red Sea and also that geopolitical tension is also having impact on prices. Well, still talking about oil back here in Nigeria. If you're living in Lagos, I'm sure you have noticed the queues are back at filling stations for about 2 days now. We thought it was a joke, but it's still on even as we speak, with talks or rumors of possible hike in prices. But now, the Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Olufemi Shuneye, has shared the company's stance on this. He said that the recent queues at filling station, especially in Lagos, and then we noticed that the NNPC filling stations, for instance, are not even open. He says, according to him, that there are no supply issues and products remain readily available. However, the recent tightness experienced in certain areas was due to a brief disruption issue in Lagos, which has since been resolved, in his words, Mr. Shuneye's words. But we're yet to see that supply resolution, spill over to Lagos filling stations. So there's still either no selling or long queues. Now, that sound you hear is the closing gong at the local boss after yesterday's trade where the Senate Committee on Capital Markets, led by the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, among others, were at the NGX yesterday, according to Senator Osita Izunazor, Chairman, Capital Committee on Capital Market. The lawmakers will revisit bills important for the growth of the capital market. Meanwhile, the SEC DG asked for patience to enjoy the benefits of the recent FX reforms.
First of all, we're going to look at all the legislative framework that in National Assembly now waiting for amendments or repeal in one way or the other. We're going to look at the Investment and Securities Bill that is before us. We're also going to look at the CISB that is before us. And we're also going to resurrect the PCCL bill that was in National Assembly since 2014. We'll look at it because that bill is seeking to compel investors to list on the capital market. So we'll have to look at it to see whether it is the right thing to do or not?
In terms of foreign investors, we want foreign investors to come back, into this market. I think the foreign exchange policies of the central bank are really helping in that area. We will have to give them time to work. I think the fiscal policy stance of the government is also helping in that area. And we are now beginning to see even the pension funds beginning to look again at the equity market.
Well, yesterday was a very busy day. The lawmakers' chambers, the finance minister, Mr. Wale Edun, has told the House of Representatives that increasing oil production and exports offer quickest route to improving the country's cost of living. He emphasized that the nation's economic situation has improved since President Bola Tinubu took office, averting potential disaster. Additionally, the central bank governor, who was also there at the session, informed lawmakers that transactions in the Nigerian stock market, you just saw there, reached a record of 800 million February. Well, we've been celebrating this for many months now. But let's listen to that report and then we'll delve into some issues that come up from there.
Members of the House of Representatives are back after the by-elections conducted over the weekend. The pressing issue of the cost of living in the country is raised as a matter of urgent national importance. The House calls for federal investment in impactful measures while appealing to stakeholders in the production chain to be more realistic in price increments on their goods and services. The Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the CBN Governor and the FIRS Chairman are admitted into the chamber, and the debate is kicked off by the Deputy Speaker.
We're going to start with the FIRS.
One after the other, the invited guests speak on the state of the economy from their various perspectives.
Given this economic condition and with the promise of Mr. President, what we need to do is to re-strategize within to make sure that we bring more people into tax net. So without increasing the tax rate, that will be able to meet the targets. And that is what has led to us restructuring.
The urgency of the matter is not lost on us at the central bank. And I really want to assure you that we're working tirelessly with colleagues from across government, including with the leadership of this House, to bring lasting solutions.
We are not going to take the easy way out. And more than that, the budget provided more money, both on nominal and in real terms, than has ever been provided in the priority sectors.
Where we are as a nation economically is a much, much better place than we were on the 29th of May, 2023. If we look at the finances of the government today, there has been benefit to the Federation account. And likewise, there have been other benefits which have accrued as a result of the changes that have been made.
They respond to questions from lawmakers on improving the economy and its impact on the cost of living, which is generating pockets of protests across the country.
This is a good news, quite frankly. It's good news that there's sufficient enough investor confidence returning back to the market for people to feel comfortable to do that volume of transactions. That's the good news. So I think it's something that we should be pleased about, and it's something that we expect will continue to get better as the reform process continues to gather steam.
Number one road to salvation is getting crude oil exports up. It is God-given. The price is at $80, $77/$80. You can't get much higher than that. In the days when we had $100 billion of revenue, the oil price wasn't that high, but production was at 2.2 million barrels. You can do the mathematics. In short, our easiest and quickest route to a better living standard for all Nigerians in the short term is raising oil production, oil exports, oil sales, bringing in foreign exchange.
This is the second in the series of sectoral debates organized by the House to address concerns in various sectors of the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Yeah, so a lot of issues raised there, and we know that the foundation of this meeting is obviously the protests we've been having. We've had one in Kano, we had the bakers, the women in Kano also. We had the protests seemingly unorganized in Niger State, protesting the high cost of living in the country. We know we've also had a statement from the President Bola Tinubu, since he came into town or back into the country yesterday. But let's take some excerpts from, those meetings we just heard right there. And joining us for this is Mr. Dr. Biodun Adedipe. He's the Chief Consultant, B. Adedipe Associates, and joins us virtually from Lagos. Dr. Adedipe, good morning and thank you for your time.
Yeah, a very good morning to you, Ini.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. So, a lot coming out there, but we just have a couple of minutes. First of all, the Minister of Finance said that we're in a better place today compared to May last year. But I don't know if you watch our sister program, Politics Today, Sheung took some time out to reel out the numbers, inflation numbers and value of the naira compared to the dollar, and it doesn't seem that way. I guess the defense is President Bola Tinubu was confident enough to take off subsidy, which a lot of governments have been running away from. Perhaps that's why he says we're in a better place today compared to, before now.
Well, that, I would say, is dependent on which metrics you are looking at, all right? Now, if the minister looked at the fiscal consolidation and, of course, allocation to the government, that will indicate that we are in a better place, no doubt. Because when you take the exchange rate differentials along with steady, improvement in revenue collection, that shows clearly a positive trajectory in that regard. More allocations getting to the states and local governments, and to that extent also, you see that featuring in the budget for 2024, whose structure is somewhat better than the structure of budget 2023. Those are positive. And of course, you can equally look at the issue of the management of the FX market that you mentioned earlier. Some pragmatic actions taken by the central bank, and how that triggered an immediate increase in the supply to the market last week. Now, those are positive, in which case the courage to take the right actions. Equally, removal of fuel subsidy, which of course meant a saving of about $10 billion annually that we have spent on that in the last 12 to now to 13 years. So all of those are positive. But if you look at other metrics, like rightly mentioned, the rate of inflation, with latest data for December 2023, is 28.92%, and the real cause of the concerns of everybody, that which impacts the cost of living, is food inflation, which is above 30%, and that is where the real issue is. So if I were to now look at this and take a pointer to what government should give more attention to, it would be, in fact, two things. FX is one, and that rests on building investor confidence, especially foreign investors. Yes, as Finance Minister said, the short and quick route to that is to increase oil production. As he mentioned, at over 1.6 million barrels per day, that's good news. Add another 200,000 barrels of condensate. That puts Nigeria in a comfortable, trajectory in terms of growing oil production and export. So which means in the near term, we may see an improvement, therefore, in FX inflows as a result of that improvement in the oil sector. Then we come to the big elephant in the room, and that's what I call it. It is what people are responding to all over the country. Though, yes, not peculiar to Nigeria, the same is happening all over the world. But we know the peculiarity of our own case is the fact that a lot of what we produce in our farms goes into loss. We call it post-harvest loss. And the estimate of that is around 60%, which means the quick wins in dealing with the major cause of, this food inflation is improved security to start with that allows farmers to go to their farms, cultivate, mature their crops, harvest, and bring to the market. That deals with supply primarily. Then, of course, to maintain steady supply on and off season, we need to deal with post-harvest losses. And that means processing, deliberate investment, or put incentives for private sectors to invest in processing and storage. If we're able to do that, then we have a near-term solution to the high food inflation.
All right,
of course, the big number in cost of living.
All right, Dr. Adedipe, just briefly now, do you see the government on an intentional mission, to deal with this? We've narrowed it down to food insecurity and supply, which is feeding into inflation and all of that. We know that last year, July, the president declared state of emergency on food insecurity and all of that. But do you see steps taken to intentionally deal with this problem?
That is what I will say. Even if the government has taken steps, they need to let Nigerians know. Because that's the issue of communication. They need to let us know that these are the steps we have taken. But for me, as an analyst, I will particularly want to hear specifics with respect to dealing with post-harvest losses. But we've had this as a problem for decades. So if we are specific in dealing with that, let the government also communicate that. So people know that, yes, the challenges we are facing now will be just for a while. So, but if there's no communication in that respect, connecting to where the pain point is, then we see people protest and complain, and do all sorts of things. They won't appreciate the gains this government has made, which of course we recognize we have made some gains, as the Minister of Finance said. But the reality is that they must put before the people specific actions they are taking that we address the root cause of this problem.
All right, thank you so much. We'll keep saying this and hope that, we would, as you said, specifics, especially with timelines. I guess we won't see protests. If people knew the timeline, we knew that, okay, in 6 months we expect this, in 10 months we expect. But thank you so much, Dr. Biodun Adedipe, Chief Consultant, B. Adedipe Associates.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now let's switch gears and talk about the tech. If you're a tech person, this is your time. I know you'll be excited about this because we are celebrating Samsung Galaxy S24 series. And I don't have information on this, as you might have guessed. So we have the product manager, Samsung Electronics West Africa, that's Stephen Okwara, as well as Chika Nadozie, the PR and head marketing. Hi, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
You can look at me, it's fine.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to have you on the show. So, you guys have something to tell us about your Samsung in these days of AI. You obviously want to show off some tech that Samsung is presenting to the world. So can we have maybe some of the features? Is that the phone?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to show us and tell us about it.
Okay, so this is the Samsung Galaxy S24. A model we just launched on the 17th day of January 2024. It's a new experience, entirely new experience, and that's because of the introduction of artificial intelligence on a smartphone. When it comes to the tech space, the mobile phone space, it's been proven beyond reasonable doubt that Samsung is actually world innovators. We take the lead while the rest follow. Looking back to when we introduced the Note series.
One would say it's because you're working with Samsung.
No, objectively, actually. Looking back from when we actually introduced the first Note series, a technology that actually, changed digital writing, changed it, brought it to an entirely new level. Even to when we introduced the Space Zoom, 100 times zoom, and so on and so forth, zeroing the gap between the DSLR camera and the mobile phone camera and the foldable series. Now, on the S24, you are looking at a device that is fully artificial intelligence enabled. So what does that translate to? We are in the tech, we are in the space or generation of artificial intelligence, but a lot of people see this technology as far-fetched, as gimmick. What is artificial intelligence? Okay. Looking at it literally, it simply means the ability of a device to execute complex tasks, likened to that of human logic or reasoning. So you can imagine having such technology on a mobile phone right at the palm of your hands. You can do a whole lot.
All
right?
Maybe Chika can,
Starting from, let me just give you some tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
Now, imagine a situation where you want to retrieve an information, for instance, from, let's say, search in any of the search engines, Google search and so on and so forth. And all you need to do, you need to go open your browser, type in the keywords or anything, and if you don't have the exact word, you're left with multiple options to choose from. And that's a bit, that's a bit constraining.
Okay, so let me just bring Chika in.
Yeah.
Chika, okay. I mean, AI, very interesting, but we also hear the threats that come with AI, cyber crimes increasing, threats of jobs being lost and all of that. So have you taken into consideration all of this, the downside of AI before, in this new AI device?
Oh, absolutely. When we're talking about AI, I mean, Samsung is one brand that, when it comes to innovation, we always push the boundaries. And what that means is, before we go into this kind of innovation, we are always very careful. We take security as one of our top priorities, absolutely. Right? So, I mean, there are several measures that we take. Most importantly, with the NOC security, this ensures that both your data as well as any information that you have on your phone is very secure. And then also with the AI, it also gives you the opportunity to customize, the security requirements based on what you would like. So as far as you can go.
What do you mean by customizing? Help us to understand.
Okay, so for example, if you want your data to be 100% secured, if you don't want a number of people to have access, you can always restrict the amount of people that can access.
Restrict to maybe your friends, maybe your family. You choose your boundaries.
Yes, you can choose your boundaries. It gives you that option because, like we said, this is what AI does, right? AI makes your life easier. So yes, of course, this is Samsung's priority, and this is something that we are also taking into consideration with the S24
So Stephen, you're about to show us some of those things.
Oh yes. Thank you very much. So you can imagine if you want to retrieve that information, like I mentioned earlier, on the internet, you're left with typing in the words, and then left with several options to select from. But with a unique feature called Circle to Search, I can retrieve any information by just drawing a circle. For instance, I see, like when we're coming in here, I think I've never been here before. All I needed to do was search for the picture of the building of Channels, just drew a circle, and it gave us step-by-step.
Do you want to do it on your phone so we can see?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Just go ahead.
I can actually
There's
do
a camera on you, so don't worry about it.
So this is exactly
what... No, turn the other way. Yeah, better.
Okay, better.
This is good.
So this is exactly what I did here. So all I needed to do was just draw a circle on the building, and it gave me the exact location of Channels TV, and all I needed to do was click, and it would take me straight to the location using the Google Maps. So that is one technology that's simply amazing. Now, there are instances where when you open a web page, let's say you have an article, you want to read an article on a web page, and the article happens to be extremely long, you just want to summarize it in maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. The artificial intelligence comes in here to do the job. Now,
so do you want to put it on the camera
absolutely.
So we see what you're doing?
Take a look at this. Now, I'm actually reading from one of the national dailies, and you can see this article, pretty long. If I don't want to waste my time, I can just click on my AI to do that job for me, summarize. And in less than 30 seconds, okay, there's no internet here. So in less than 30 seconds, the device automatically summarizes the entire page for me, and I can decide to either transcribe or translate it to another language that you can actually see. And that's not all. There's another unique feature. This is mind-blowing. It's the most sought-after feature on the Samsung Galaxy S24 series, and that is real-life call translation. We are in an environment where a lot of people speak different languages, and we have a little bit of a language gap, amongst people when they are communicating. Now, on this device, you necessarily don't need to worry about that at all. And that's because the device comes with a real-time call translator and, of course, an interpreter. Now, take a look at what I'm going to do here. If, for instance, I want to call...
That's your camera.
Okay, thank you. If I want to call, let's say, a friend in... a Korean friend who probably does not speak or understand English, all I need to do, input the number, dial the number, and call up my artificial intelligence to do the real-life call translation. And you can see here, my caller is preset in the French, and I speak English. Anything I say in English, the other party gets to hear. My Korean friend gets to hear it in Korean language, and when he speaks Korean language, I get to hear it in English language. That's one beautiful thing about AI on the smartphone. But that's not all. If we want to actually, let's say we're having a conversation, we're in a board meeting, and we actually want to transcribe. You don't want to take notes. You don't have somebody to take the minutes of the notes for you. The real-life voice translator can actually do that for you. So all you just need to do, I can go on and go on.
I need to ask Chika. Chika, I think very soon, humans will not need to think anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that a challenge?
I mean, now you've raised this important point. It's important to bring out the motivation behind, these amazing devices. Because Samsung is a leading producer of flagship products, right? And, this, you would agree with me that being at the top, you have to consistently outdo competition and set the pace for others to follow. And that's what we've done. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about AI. And for the first time, like my colleague has said, we're bringing AI to the palms of our consumers. So basically making their lives easier. Absolutely. In the past, S-series have been streamlined with respect to the users, but for this device, it's now for anyone who wants to make their life easier. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a content creator? Are you a celebrity? Are you a student? Are you a parent? Of course, you're looking to make your life easier.
So you're driving the computer manufacturers, are you driving them out of business?
Of course.
Because with this, you don't really need computer if you can do everything on your palm.
Well, that's good, but they equally have their own space. Just like look at the DSLR cameras and the mobile phone cameras. They actually have the own space that they play. But this is making life
But who can afford this, guys? Let's drill down to the... Who can afford this?
Okay, I mean, like,
or do you have... I know some shops, and transactions, they allow for installment payments, things like that.
Absolutely. So yes, even at Samsung, we also have options for flexible payments. We have a software which is called the FlexPay. It allows you to buy and pay in installments, and you can choose whether you want to pay in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months with a very little interest rate. So we are making it affordable to the larger audience, right?
Sounds good. But Stephen, any other thing you want to show us? Because you are so excited about some of these
I'm super excited. Why? Because this is the first time we are seeing a device that is fully artificial intelligence enabled. So there are a whole lot of features, and of course, time wouldn't permit us to go through it. But there's another notable one. It's been proven that every second somebody is taking pictures somewhere. All right, so mobile photography has actually, narrowed down the gap between the DSLR cameras and the smartphone camera. On this device, with the AI integrated here, you can actually take amazing features, even in a dimly lit environment, and do a whole lot of image adjustments. All right, I can take a picture of you right now and literally take you out of here completely. And then the AI will automatically generate something else and replace it right here, making it look amazing. Of course, I would have loved to demo that here.
Yeah, I mean, it's also good to mention with all these features, right? The processor has also been increased. The battery life has also been...
So it doesn't take time.
Exactly. So it's very fast, and the battery life is also been optimized. So you don't have to worry about constant charging.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for this. I wish you were living that right here, and then you can go.
This is mine, actually. You should go get yours.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Thank you so much. Chika Nadozie, Head of Marketing with Samsung Electronics West Africa, and Stephen Okwara. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice having you.
All right. All right. Well, Samsung right there, and AI and all of that. The world is being taken over by AI. I hope we can afford it. Let's, just before we hand over, we have just a minute or so to hand over to the Sunrise team. Let's tell you how the market closed yesterday. Profit taking is persisting at the NGX, but it's not a bad thing. Trust me, it's not a bad thing. We're still up there, 102,108.05. That's how the NGX closed. The equity is at 55.87. Activity yesterday, volume was in red, value was in red, deals in red. A typical picture of profit taking. So you have it 11,000. We've lost like 19%. Let's look at the sectors. Banking is still facing a lot of that profit taking down more than 2%. Consumer goods, marginal, industrial. this big guy, this sector actually moved the market a whole lot. Remember Dangote Cement, Bra Cement, all of them. So profit taking is on them now. And then our insurance, our penny stocks that have been gaining up, they've also been affected. Oil and gas remains unchanged. Top gainers yesterday, Cadbury, Julie and Mayer, right there. Losers was Cornhall. PLC. So that's how much we can take. I hope 30 minutes was worth your time, but I know you have more information on the other side with the Sunrise team. Chamberlain, back to you.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed. It's that time where we talk sports. Yes, indeed. And as well, Ida Peterside joins us next. He's a former Super Eagles player. He was between the posts, just trying to see that what Nwabali is going to be doing for us today. So good morning and thank you for joining us today on Sunrise Daily. Well, you know, the thing about this kind of big game is that we expect big players, big characters to step up. But the danger is that there could also be a big fall. But we don't want to think about that part. But sometimes you just have to. But it's going to be a really big one because once you're out, you can say goodbye. So tell us, Mr. Peterside, what kind of thoughts have been going through your mind about this match today?
Chamberlain, see how scared you are. Fear not. Hey, it's all over you.
But at that minute, I mean, who can blame me? It's called respecting the opponent.
Fear not. We're Nigeria. We're Nigeria. The gods are on our side, where you can see. We're playing well. We're doing well. We're scoring few goals, but we're winning. We're not conceding goals. You know, in every team, there are three aspects you must look at. You look at the defense, you look at the goalkeeping, and you look at the attack. And considerably, we've done well. When you consider that in these three areas, we've seen Nwabali come to save us. And our defense have just conceded 1 goal in 5 games. And I think we scored about 4 goals or thereabout. And we're in the semi-finals. So, again, fear not. I think it's going to be a beautiful day. I'm surprised you guys in the studio are not even wearing Nigerian jersey to give us some kind of hope.
It's under my shirt. So when that time comes, I'll bring it out. But Talk to us about the mindset of those kind of players, because you've been here before. So how is the mindset usually when you're preparing for this game, especially trying to distill all the noise and be laser focused on getting the job done, particularly at this stage?
It's the hardest period to every game is 4 hours to the game, because what would happen early this morning, they will take what we call the walk. You just walk around the hotel, just to fellowship with one another, gist, and just to calm the nerves. The tension starts when you go for lunch, because if you play in a game, you need to eat 4 hours for proper digestion, 4 hours, 5 hours before the match proper. Now, after the lunch, what happens after the lunch? The players get from the lunch area, they go for pre-match, or they go for pre-match from 11 o'clock. Then you know the lineup. They tell you who will play, give you instructions. From there to the dining, then from the dining to your room. Once you get to your room, that's where the pressure starts, because you don't talk to anyone. You have your Walkman. You want to sleep, you can't sleep. Your friend, your roommate wants to talk to you. Maybe he's not in the team. He wants to just talk. You don't want to talk. So that's the pressure period. Once you can handle the nerves between that time and when you assemble in the bus, once you get into the bus, the pressure leaves immediately. The pressure leaves because as you're entering the bus, you start singing. The reason for those songs are just to motivate you, to give you that war, put you into that war zone, Yeah. And the beauty of it, once you enter the dressing room, you see your jersey, you see your name, this thing hits you. I'm representing Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a beautiful experience.
So I hope, are they allowed phones at any point in time between, almost at that period where you're psychologically trying to prepare?
Yes, the beautiful thing is to talk to families, to talk to your wife, talk to your children. It calms you. So phones are allowed. But don't call an uncle that needs money or that will tell you. The danger is when they tell you that your relative just died. Remember the case at the World Cup with Mikel, So when we're coming, I was in that team. We were in South Africa. As we were coming out of the dressing room to go, then a phone call came that they had just kidnapped his father. That's the danger of receiving phone calls. So most people don't take calls. They put their iPod on, put their music on, just play your favorite music and feel the vibe from the team.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much for that very vivid description of what it feels like to carry the expectations of 200 million Nigerians on your shoulders, especially when, they didn't really have a lot of faith in this team. But, you're a man of the book. And, I think it was someone who said the race is not to the swift. And it would seem that somehow, all the naysayers have been proven wrong. This is our team at the semi-finals. And I can tell you today, we're all wearing our jerseys. The jerseys in the heart.
He's not buying
You're not buying it.
He's not buying that.
The jerseys in the heart. I assure you, Mr. Bitterside. But I'm wondering, looking at how far we've come, we've talked about how, our team, you've looked at the defense, the attack, and the midfield. We know that this is not, it would seem that somehow the gods of football are just looking very kindly at us. Because yes, our defense has been really good, but not so much our attack. When you look at the fact that even an own goal got us through to this point, it doesn't look like this is something that we have really, really, really worked for. Would you agree with those who say that?
No, own goals are caused by pressure. When we're playing, we have this adage. They say, Port Harcourt play well, about win. It used to be an adage that Port Harcourt played well, but about won. The most important thing in football is to win. Get the result. Nobody cares how you get the result. In 10 years from today, when they look at the stats, they won't say, oh, this person was under pressure, that person was under pressure. Or you realize the results. Nigeria won Angola. That's all that matters. So sometimes in games, you need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of momentum to carry. Look at Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is playing the semi-finals, and trust me, they will play in the finals. So you need a little bit of luck here. You need a little momentum here. But the beauty of it all, and I was talking yesterday, I said, when you're playing for Nigeria, in the player's head, a lot of people think they are thinking about Nigeria. It's not true. They are thinking about themselves. And so when you have 11 players thinking about how they can make history, how they can change the narrative and say, in 2024, I won the Nations Cup. People might say Nigeria won the Nations Cup, but you see, when you personalize it and bring 11 people that say, I want to do this, I want to do this, once they get it right, and I want to be a winner, everything changes. So you need a little bit of luck, you need a little bit of God, you need a little bit of yourself, and the combination of those things bring the victory. Look at the South African side too. They lost their first game, don't forget. They lost their first game, everyone wrote them off. And all through, they were second best against Mali. Their goalkeeper was fantastic, saved 4 penalties. This is what carries you through a tournament. And we just hope that it carries us to today. It's going to be a very difficult game.
Thankfully, you're watching from You're going to be watching from Port Harcourt. Yes. Last time we spoke to you, you're speaking to us from South Africa. And we've since seen that circular that's gone viral now, talking about how Nigerians in South Africa will need to be careful in terms of how they celebrate. Should Nigeria, I think maybe the clause when Nigeria wins South Africa, that's the Nigerian in me. But that's basically what it is. I mean, it's a very sad commentary in the sense that this is supposed to bring Africa together. These games, the AFCON, is supposed to, blur the divides and bring everyone together, regardless of whether you win or lose. What did you make of that circular when you saw it?
Well, it was sent to me, and I'm quite close to the High Commissioner there. We've been talking on the community, one of the community leaders there. We've been talking. This is not the first time. It's not the first time we've been harassed. It's not the first time you've seen xenophobia everywhere. But there's this unwritten rivalry between these nations. Very unwritten rivalry. And this rivalry is about supremacy. Who is greater, who is bigger. It's not just in football, it's political. They hardly want to give a visa to come into their country for Nigeria. And on the lighter note, their women like us more than their men. So there's this rivalry that is just beyond football. This has happened so many times. Again, we cannot take this for granted. These things are real. I pastor the church. I still pastor church in South Africa. By God's grace, I have a massive assembly. At a particular time, other South African pastors arranged to come and attack our church. About 62 people came in there and vandalized the place. So it's just an unspoken rivalry. But please, I want to beg them, forget about the fear. I don't want our boys should please beat them. We'll handle this threat later. Let's win the match first, okay? They shouldn't even read the letter and go and say we want to pity Nigerians there. Let's win them first, then we can handle the letter later.
I mean, Mr. Peterside, it is a very, very serious situation. I mean, many Nigerians have been worried, seeing that particular circular. And it's not just about Nigeria winning this game. If we win, there's the fear. And if we lose, there's also the fear. Are there checks? Is there something being done? At least you said you're close to the High Commissioner. Apart from telling Nigerians not to celebrate in a way that could make people, uncomfortable or upset enough to foment trouble, is there anything else being done?
Yes, I think the game will be shown at the High Commission, at the embassy, and the one in Pretoria and the one in Johannesburg. So if you want to really celebrate, come to the High Commission, to the embassy or to the High Commission to to watch together. There'll be big screens there. And we've told most of the people, forget the pubs. Don't go to the pubs. Just stay indoors, especially you and your friends can gather in your house and make as much noise as you want to make in the room. The threat is real. You know, everything we do, it's not just football. Everything we do, there's this deep-rooted hatred for Nigerians. We don't know where it comes from. So we've advised. We've called our friends and say, hey, Meloda, you've not won the trophy. The rivalry is unbelievable. The truth about it is that, if we win, they will attack us. If they win, they will attack us. So we just pray that it's minimal. It is not football. It is xenophobia. That's what it is.
Stay with you on what you said earlier. When you said, let's leave the matter of the letters and all of that aside for now. But let me also confess, as you and Chamberlain were bantering, my BP was already going up so hard. I can't tell you. I can't hear you. I hope something will be done. Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear that.
I said, I'm not even worried about you because you will not even watch. You will not even watch. You said that before.
Okay. But, you know, I don't know whether to say that this is a good thing or a bad thing. And it is something that growing up, I knew with the Brazilian teamwork. They hardly had strikers, so to speak, back in time. They were not as prominent. It was just the Brazilian team. Once you were going to face the Brazilian team, you had a problem in your head. And I think that's the same thing that the South African coach is saying, that, look, they don't have stars like that, but they have a good team. And he's saying that they're banking on teamwork to defeat the Super Eagles. Does that give you any concern?
Yes. 8 of the regular players play for Mamelodi Sundowns. And they have been African champions twice already. They've won the South African League back-to-back 4 times in a row. So they have a team. Remember, Mosepe, the president of CAF, owns Mamelodi Sundowns. But the good thing about it, they have a lot of money. They've been playing together. So that's what they've done. They've just moved that team into the national team and they're producing for them. We have something they don't have. What we have is that we can muscle them. We have the ability to muscle them. We have more individual gifted players, which if we utilize that, then we should win.
Well, talking about those players that you just talked about now, you know, a number of people have expressed a bit of concern, particularly about what I can call our star boy, Osimhen. That in most cases in this particular tournament, he's not really been able to show the stuff he's made of. Only that he has been very, very instrumental to quite a number of victories that we have scored. Is that something that bothers you? Because the same thing could happen here. I mean, you are saying that we would muscle them, but it would seem like throughout this tournament so far, some of our key players, like Osimhen, for instance, has been fairly muscled.
No, he's been the star of the tournament. Because it's not scoring does not mean it's not impactful. You know, his impact is so much felt. Yes, we saw the last game, and even while he was falling, he was the one that gave the pass. So it's been very impactful. If you don't feel Osimhen, then you're in trouble. You know, we just pray that he gets the luck of hitting the net. That's what we expect. If he hits the net, he'll hit 2 or 3 times. He's done so well for the team. He's been our best player so far. So it's been very impactful. Sometimes things like this happen in tournaments. When you look at this Lookman that is scoring the goals, while in Nigeria, no one even wanted him to be in the team. So we are hoping that his impact will be felt and the gods will shine on him and he will begin to score goals.
I'm very happy with what you said earlier about, I mean, when Marco was excited about it, and I was as well when you mentioned it, that, you know, what's going on in the mind of the player. They also want to write their names in goal. They want to make history and all of that. But in terms of the mood, what should Nigerians be expecting? And what would you be telling the people, the handlers of the Eagles right now, in order for them not to be disturbed or deterred by anything? A few hours down the line, yes, but what would be your counsel?
Yes, I've always had a challenge of a lot of government officials invading their space and making unnecessary promises. Sometimes it just confuses the players. I remember, again, I still say we were in the dressing room, and if I would mention his name, Adenuga came into our dressing room and said, if you win this game, I'll give you $1 million. Even me, I didn't watch the match. I was concentrating on the $1 million that were supposed to be shared, because we were already calculating how much each player will get. Just let them play. If there's any instruction, pass it to the coaches. And after the game, this night, after we've won, you cannot gather them and give them whatever you want to give to them. All the government officials will be there. Sometimes it can be very noisy.
Oh, well. I know that some time ago when you mentioned this kind of scenario, that there were too many officials. Let these people focus and concentrate. It sent shivers down people's spines, and at some point it didn't end well. But maybe talk us through this part, using yourself as an example while you were at this stage, going for this kind of match. Now, do you play for the country? Do you play for yourself or for glory? So, and in all of that scale of preference, which one usually runs topmost that will motivate the players, or you the most, that motivated you, for instance, the most when you were going into this kind of match?
You play for yourself first.
Oh.
Because the first game I played, I called my father and I said, hey, your son is in goal for Nigeria. And my father could not sleep. Hey, my son is playing for Nigeria. It's you first. Because once you are ready, now when you come in, when the team meets, it becomes Nigeria. But for yourself, you need to psych yourself, because you can damage your career. You can end your career. You can end your national team career in one game. You saw what happened to Zoho. One game destroys you. So you have to first prepare yourself and say, God help me here. Most players, even fast, prepare themselves mentally, physically. And once you get you right, and individuals get themselves right, that's a collective team. There you see that when they hold their hand together and begin to pray and hold, then it becomes Nigeria. But you must prepare you, because remember, 10 years from today, you can mention the team, but the glory that has come out from your participation becomes your individual achievement. So somebody can say, JJ this, hey, Amunike this. Why? Nobody's saying Nigeria this at that time. So it's important you play for yourself when you gather. And again, I want to say this that will shock a lot of people. All this tension, all these people are saying, no, they're not even hearing you. They are.
I think it's good, so they can focus.
Yes, very good, very good. You switch off. If you don't switch off, you die. You understand? You kill yourself. If you don't switch off, you hear that this goalkeeper's leg is too big. This goalkeeper's hair is tattered. This goalkeeper's, they just tell you, especially now in the time of social media.
Yeah.
They yab your father and your mother. You understand? So you just keep away from that noise and focus on football.
So one more thing. Now, when you've watched, as we've watched the team play over time, did you see the tactical news? Or, for instance, did you see anything whatsoever that told you, wow, this is off the training pitch? We've been trying some things, and hopefully this time we will see a similar narrative. Just pull something from nowhere to surprise the lot.
I think that Pesero, give it to him, has changed how we play. We all know we play with two wingers, we play midfielders and 4 defenders. He has changed everything. Look at how he's playing. He's playing with the right fullback. Aina goes up and down this way. And then Saidu, I think that's his name, on the left side. What he has done that has baffled a lot of people is that the 5 he's playing, he has brought Basim from the left side. And Why is he doing this? And I think it's a great tactic. That's why we've not conceded goals. I think he was worried about our defense, and he tweeted a little bit that has paid off tremendously. That every time we lose the ball, the three clicking into that middle, and they expect Aina to trickle down and expect this Shaidu to trickle down. Then we have 5 of them. All they do, they leave Onyeka in the middle. You see, and they leave Onyeka in that middle, and the Lookman doesn't come back. So he stays permanently there, just like Arsenal used to play, knowing that if there is any breakaway, they can send the ball to Lookman because he has speed and he favors the team. It's a tactic that is played in Europe for over the years. But the Nigerian system, we wanted to stay with our 1994 system where you have 2 wingers, Finidi on the right and Monica on the left. But he has brought a lot of changes, which we're watching, and I think it's working for him in Nigeria.
Okay. So, also happy for Ademola Lookman. So if they think they can mark him out, Osimhen is there. They think they can put 2 people on those guys, Moses Simon can do a job. But if they think, let me not read out all our tactics, but we'll have to at this point.
Chukwueze is the car.
Fantastic. And then Kelechi also is there. So we could pull something here.
All these extra coaches. Coaches who are watching from the bench.
That's our way to enjoy the game. So we'll be watching. We'll be watching this evening. So Nigerians, celebrate wherever you are. So be happy about the match. Watch it. Be happy. It's your country. Be proud of your country. Support your country wherever you are. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. That's what matters. So, Mr. Peterside, thank you for your time this morning.
I think we'll win. I think we'll win 2-1.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll leave it at that, on that positive note, and we'll take that into watching the game as well. So there you go. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully smiling from ear to ear after tonight, to this evening's match. I'm Chamberlain, so ahead of that, hopefully victory. Goodbye.
Indeed, all the best to our team. We wish them the very best. Thank you for watching today. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf.
Have a positive energy. Energy will be everything today as we watch this game. I want to thank everyone for watching. I am Kayla Magwa.
And if the Maka Chukwueze, Chamberlain is there. Oh, sorry, it's an actor. It's an anchor. Amaya Makinde, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for staying tuned and welcome to Newstrack on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka and these are the stories we're following for you this hour. The Nigeria Police Force has announced the killing of a bandit in Abuja, the nation's capital, popularly known as Issa Deidei. A statement signed by the Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says operatives of the DFI IRT acting on intelligence got information on the hideout of a notorious bandit group in the suburb of the FCT led by one Issa Deidei and immediately proceeded to the location for possible arrest. The statement adds that the bandit, upon sighting the police, fled, but the operatives immediately went after them, which led to a fierce gun duel. And in the process, the notorious Issa Deidei was neutralized, while other members of the syndicate managed to escape with gunshot injuries. The police is therefore asking members of the public, most especially medical practitioners, to report anyone or patient seen with gunshot wounds for further investigation. It appears that the message from Nigerians regarding the high cost of living in the country is finally reaching the appropriate quarters. A day after protests broke out in Minna, Niger State, over high cost of food items in the state, the House of Representatives has called for the immediate intervention of government in reducing the cost of living in the country. The House, through a motion by Honorable Isiaka Ibrahim, asked the federal government to invest in high-impact measures. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Mr. Wale Edun, and the CBN Governor appeared before lawmakers on Tuesday to update them on the results of the ongoing reforms by the government. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, reports.
Members of the House of Representatives are back after the by-elections conducted over the weekend. The pressing issue of the cost of living in the country is raised as a matter of urgent national importance. The House calls for federal investment in impactful measures while appealing to stakeholders in the production chain to be more realistic in price increments on their goods and services. The Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the CBN Governor and the FIRS Chairman are admitted into the chamber, and the debate is kicked off by the Deputy Speaker.
We're going to start with the FIRS.
One after the other, the invited guests speak on the state of the economy from their various perspectives.
Given this economic